Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sarah and I'm a leader from the 11:15 service. I am so excited to talk with you guys this week because I've missed you all so much. It's been really disappointing not being able to see your lovely faces over the last couple of months. Speaking of disappointment, let me tell you a story about the most disappointing day I've ever experienced. I was in grade 5, just like many of you, and it was my birthday. And everyone knows that on your birthday, you're supposed to bring in a treat for your class. So that's what I was doing. I got out of the car carrying my birthday cupcakes, and I tripped. Cupcakes went flying, and icing went everywhere. My knee was scraped, and I had a cut on my hand, and I sat on the ground crying. My birthday was ruined, and all I could think was, why is this happening to me? I think we can all agree that life can be disappointing and frustrating sometimes. Have you ever experienced something disappointing, been rejected, lost something or someone special to you, or just experienced being sad? Clearly, everyone here has experienced disappointment, rejection, or unanswered prayers at a point in time. But have you ever heard or thought that Jesus would just make everything in your life okay? There's a verse in the Bible, Romans 8, verse 28, that tells us that in everything, God works it for our good. Some people interpret that verse to mean, if I follow Jesus, everything is going to be all right. But we know from our own experience that this isn't true. Even when we follow Jesus, we don't get everything we want, we still get hurt, and bad things still happen to us. This is the exact story of a man named Job from the Bible. Job 1, verse 1 to 5 tells us that Job was blameless. He feared God and he turned away from evil. He was the greatest man in the place he lived, and God had blessed him with the best of the best. But in Job 1, verse 6 to 2, verse 10, we see everything that he had get stripped away. All his animals, his servants, his health, and even his children were taken from him. Yet, in the face of disappointment, Job's reaction wasn't to blame God. Job 1 verse 22 tells us, in spite of everything, Job didn't sin by blaming God for doing anything wrong. After everything he experienced, Job cried out to God and asked, why? Why is this happening? He had done his best to follow God and could not understand why God was allowing him to suffer. Job had 3 friends who tried to comfort him through all his pain. But after sitting with Job for a week, they decided they had an answer to Job's question about why this was all happening to him. Except, Job's friends believed that bad things only happen to bad people, so Job must have done something wrong. So their answers were pretty bad, offensive and hurtful actually. Here's what they told him. 1. This is your fault. Bad things don't happen to innocent people, so you must be guilty of something. 2. Your kids, they deserved it too. 3. God has a plan. You just have to wait and see what it is. And finally, 4. Be thankful. God must be disciplining you for something. Be grateful it's not worse. That's pretty terrible. But don't we hear things like this all the time? Maybe we've even said it to someone else too. It's like saying that I deserve to drop my birthday cupcakes because I must have gotten into a fight with one of my siblings that morning. These friends of Job go on lecturing him for a very long time. And when they're done, Job finally tells them, hey, everything you've said has been really hurtful and offensive, and you're wrong. Job says he hasn't sinned against God, but even if he had, nothing he's done would deserve the kind of suffering he's experiencing. Job cries out in pain, asking God to just end his suffering already because it's all too much. Then finally, in Job 38, verse 41, God responds. God appears and speaks to Job out of a great whirlwind. And at the end of Job's story, God restores Job's life by giving him double everything he had lost. But that doesn't take away the pain and the suffering Job experienced. Let's return to the passage that people sometimes think means everything will be just fine. Romans 8 verse 28 says, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose for them." This verse doesn't mean our lives will eventually have a happy ending, like the end of a sitcom or our favorite Disney movie. When we experience pain and heartache, the hard truth is that, like Job, our questions don't always get answered. But God can redeem what we've suffered or lost. To redeem something is to reclaim, repurpose, restore, or regain it. This is what Jesus does for us. He is our Redeemer, and because of his life, death, and resurrection, we have an opportunity to experience his redemption. Like Job, sometimes we lose a lot, but redemption means our story doesn't end there. Just like for me, my 11th birthday didn't end with just me dropping my cupcakes. A mom came up to me on the ground and helped me clean up the mess. She took me to the office and helped me get a Band-Aid. I may not have had my birthday cupcakes, but my birthday wasn't ruined. You may not be able to avoid pain. You may not be able to fix it. And we may never know why it happened. But here's what we do know. God promises to redeem our stories so we can know him better, help others, and make the world a better place, and become more like Jesus. If you find yourself suffering, seeming without reason, I hope you won't take the advice of Job's friends. Instead, I hope you'll learn to trust that knowing the God who made you is even better and more important than knowing why. We may not know how everything is going to work out, or even if it will work out. But even when we don't have every answer to every question, we can still have faith in our Redeemer. And that is good news.